Thank you very much to welcome Mr. Rodrigo Da Costa. So, thank you. So I mix my word, the European Union Agency for the Space Program. You've held various positions as project manager, and I suppose this shall be very useful in what you're currently doing and setting up. I will leave you to it and ask questions later on.
Thank you. I hope the audio is okay. If you make a sign, I don't see because I only see white. There's a very strong light here. First of all, thank you for the introduction. Thank you for almost getting our name right. It's the EU Agency for the Space Program.
I did it the third time.
No, it's very good. It's very good. It's very good. No, it's not the name that matters. What matters is the content. And this is what I'm here to tell you a little bit today. Let me just try out if this works. It does. First, let me tell you that it is certainly a real pleasure to be back at CYSAT. I've been here last year. I'm now a second time. By questions of agenda, I normally don't very much repeat a lot of things one year after the other. So this actually shows how much I find the topics that you discuss here important, and how important it is actually to outreach and to discuss with the community of other agencies, the community of institutions, the community of industry, small, big, the community of academia, about this very important point that is security. I will start my speech, or my intro speech, by trying to make a case. I think it's a case that probably most of you are convinced, also one of which more and more people out there are convinced, but I think, again, we as a community, we have an obligation to continue making this speech. And the speech is that space matters. Space matters, and space matters actually in many aspects. It matters in many dimensions. There are many things that space already does for us, citizens today. Space is important in our economy. There are already a bunch of economic sectors out there that count on space every day. Things like, for example, transport. If you go at road transport, I mean, road transport is very much dependent on space already. Aviation, more and more, with EGNOS, but also maritime. We are getting as well into the domain of rail. Then some completely different sectors, things like agriculture, forestry. A lot of value is taken out of space. And space is important from an economical point of view, yes, but it's also important to implement some of the key policies, to tackle some of the key changes that we have as a society. I've put in this picture the EU agenda, the EU priorities. I think these are EU priorities. Actually, many of these, they are worldwide priorities, because this helps us to focus a little bit on areas where space matters. And there are other priorities, by the way. The Union does not only have these four. For all the other priorities, I could have put them as well, because actually space contributes. I tend to choose this for one because this is where it is more obvious. And when I'm trying to explain to people why space matters, these are the ones where I find very easy examples. And I think most of you will find even other examples beyond those that I cite. So Green Deal, green transition, climate change, it is a challenge. It is something we have to tackle. And there, EU space is providing already high value. I've mentioned transport, I've mentioned agriculture. More efficient agriculture, precision agriculture, for example, is enabled by space, but also building of smart cities, better control of our energy grid management. Space is playing a role there. Digital, transition to the digital age. This is about cohesion as well. This is about having one European Union. For example, the topic of connectivity plays a very important role there. Resilience. And here I'm thinking of resilience from the economic point of view of resilience. There is a lot of innovation, and you know, many of you are startups, entrepreneurs. There is a lot of innovation coming from space, and there is even more, innovation where space is a mean to an end, where space is a tool. Companies that are not coming from the space domain, but that are using space data, space services in order to create value for other sectors. And last but not least, space is crucial for a stronger Europe. Philippe has mentioned it just before me. It is about the strategic autonomy of the Union. It used to work. I know it does. Now it worked too much. Okay, very good. Oh, there is an editing thing in that slide. Now, space is very important. Space is a crucial infrastructure. I think that message is passed. I hope you are convinced. Probably you were already before you joined this talk and you joined this room. So it is a very important infrastructure. However, space is hard. Space is tough. Space is difficult. And space is challenged. And I think this is important to note as well. I put there some of the challenges. I will not highlight all of them. Let me pick a few. For example, geopolitics. I think Philippe mentioned it also just before. We are not living in a safer planet than we used to live before. We have conflicts. There are wars. There is war at our borders, or actually at the Union borders. There is a war going on. After the Russian invasion of Ukraine, the panorama changed, and certainly wars and conflicts are growing in the world today. Cyber, that one is quite obvious. We have here a full conference dedicated to the link of cyber and space. Space is also declared as a war-fighting domain. Maybe General Adam will mention it this afternoon, but if you look, space commands all around the world, in Europe not only, consider space as a new war-fighting domain. Space is as well a multi-layer system. When we think about space, people think about satellites. Well, satellites is actually probably the smallest part of space, because much of space is actually on the ground. Space is hardware and space is software. Space is space, but space is also very much ground. There's a lot of physical threats, there's a lot of cyber threats. So the multi-layer is an important notion, and as any system, space is just as strong as its weakest link. And therefore, the protection of space must be a multi-layer protection. Space is hostile, is a hostile environment. It's not an easy environment. And space is becoming hyperpopulated. Hyperpopulated, I mean, collisions, we see it as SST front desk, doing the SST front desk work. We see, and even, we've done it since July last year, even in these 9 months, 10 months, we have seen an increased number of collision warnings, of collision avoidance maneuvers, etc., etc. Now, there are things we can do to protect this. There are things we can do in order to tackle all these challenges that face space, because we have to protect space. Space is critical, the critical infrastructure. Space is important for us. Work on policy and strategy. Guillaume may talk in a few minutes about the EU space strategy for security and defense. It's one of the very important strategy discussions that was going on and that now is going to be implemented. It is about understanding what is going around, so the 24/7 monitoring of the cyber situation, but also the 24/7 monitoring of the situation in space. Whenever it comes to very challenging situations, it's about clear chains of command. It's about a clear instruction level in order to take action on our space assets. It's also about having a very clear understanding of how we manage the security risks, because we will never be able of eliminating all the security risks. There is a certain level of risk acceptance that we have to have. The question is how to manage that. And this is a very, very, very important factor. It is about accreditation. Accreditation helps us protecting. I will not elaborate on that. My colleague Elisabetta will talk about that in a few minutes. Accreditation helps us protect, and of course, space surveillance and tracking. Now, at EUSPA, we are doing a few of these things, and I'm coming to the conclusion so that we have time for the questions. In EUSPA, we are doing a few of these things. We see security actually as a chain. We talk about security governance, and this is related to operational security, this is related to policies, this is related to processes. There is, of course, a strong link with cryptography, etc., etc. So this is very much everything that is related to the environment of security. We do as well security operations. What does it mean, security operations? It means, first and foremost, to continuously monitoring the security of the systems. Today, very much focus on Galileo, growing to EGNOS, but certainly it will grow to other domains of the space program. But it also means the provision of security-relevant services, services that are relevant for security actors, be it governmental, such as, for example, the public regulated service, or general actors, public and private, such as, for example, the SST front desk. And all of this is encapsulated under accreditation. Accreditation is giving the certainty that whatever we do, it works. Few concrete examples. I have to have a word about the EU Space CYSAT. It will certainly be mentioned later on. Established with in a very close partnership with the European Commission, under the leadership of the European Commission. It is a place where we want to create a forum for exchanging. We want to create a forum for dialogue, for knowledge sharing with the industry actors, but also with the public entities. This particular conference is very, very important for us because at the side of this conference we will have a little event also to kick off formally, if you want, or publicly, the EU Space CYSAT. Last thing I would mention, if it helps me moving, yes, is very briefly also on the EU Space Academy Learning Platform. This is something we have developed very much towards it for entrepreneurs and startups. So if you are an entrepreneur and startup and you are working in the domain of space, in this case most likely also with a link of security, this it's giving opportunities to you, opportunities for financing, but not only. It's not only about prizes and money, it's about networking with other entrepreneurs, networking with investors. And in the particular case of the Space Academy, it is very much about getting knowledge and sharing knowledge. Certainly, we are very attentive as well because in the EU Space Strategy for Security and Defense that I've mentioned just before, there is a link that is put there between the Space Academy, the EU Space Academy, and the domain of security and defense, and in particular of cyber. With this, I close. I mean, we are as we continue moving forward. We keep security very much in the focus of our activity. Security is really crucial for us, but I'm sure that will be tackled through some of the questions you will have.
Sure. Thank you very much, Mr. Da Costa. I invite you to sit over here if you do not mind. That will be easier with the logistics. Please do not hesitate to raise any questions. We are ready to read them out loud, but as the room has no questions, this is time for mine. So you just said that European space is about geopolitics worldwide, but it's also about European politics. And we've invited a few people, members of the European Parliament, to talk here at CYSAT. They could not because this is the last plenary of the European Parliament. Elections are ahead of us with the renewal of the European Parliament, but also the change of the Commission. How much do you think do the progress of European space rely on national politics too?
Thank you. First, I think you mentioned something really important. There is a European election coming, and I mean, for every citizen, it's really very important to participate. And I think this is a crucial message. Everyone is passing it. The Parliament is doing a huge effort on that. Also, we as agencies, and here through the network of agencies, we are doing in our communities to pass exactly that message. Because it is for this democracy that we fight. It is for this democracy that we think that what is happening in Ukraine is wrong, and the approach that Putin is taking is the wrong one. And I think this is really, really important. And democracy is democracy. Certainly, there will be a European Parliament, a new European Parliament, new composition. There will be another commission. Then, when it comes to the trends and the way that things are developing, one of the things that I see, and I see, for example, when I go myself to the European Parliament, as an agency, we are discharged by the Parliament, so they are a very, very important stakeholder. Mm-hmm. And every now and then I have to go there. And every now and then I also want to go there. I think it's important. I do it voluntarily. And it's very interesting because space is now or has become quite consensus among different political groups and also in terms of countries. Space is not only, is not anymore a matter of only few. There is interest in space in large countries and in small countries. In let's say, old or traditional or long history space nations in Europe, but also those that are just starting. If you look at the political spectrum, I can see interest in space from one side to the other side of the plenary. Because everyone finds something on space, because space is helping actually so many policies that all the policies will find a hook on space. This said, and as far as I can predict, I think the positive uptrend that we have been having in EU space will not disappear as long as we continue delivering. And this is very, very important. As long as we continue delivering, we have to continue delivering.
Okay, thank you very much. We have a question from Laurence Duquera. What will be the first action of the EU Space ISAC?
That is a very good question, and it's not up to me to decide. It is up to the frame of the EU Space ISAC. I mean, it is set as a collaborative platform, so it is not imposed by the institutions. It would be highly incorrect if I would say something in that direction, because it would seem that I'm imposing something. The first action is the kickoff this afternoon, and then this assembly will decide what to do next.
So, historical moment, kickoff, elections. You said before that space is multi-layered, but governance of space is too. And we have more and more participants at CYSAT coming from North America. Could you please maybe detail a bit more this European governance of space?
How it works, space in Europe? Okay, yes, I can detail. I mean, so space governance 101 for let's try that. I mean, Europe,
in 3 minutes.
Europe has been doing space for a very long time. Space started in the nation, so the states the countries start doing space long ago, and then at a certain point in time they saw the need of partnering. And there was a partnering that was starting, so bilateral, multilateral. By the way, in this frame was created, well, there were a number of agencies that then resulted in the European Space Agency, which is a very important, by the way, a very important partner of us as well, a very important actor in space in Europe. This is about multilateral partnership. Then came the Treaty of Lisbon. The European Union is founded by treaties, is funded by the rule of law, and there is a treaty, the Treaty of Lisbon, that says that space, the Union has some competencies in space. And this created, if you want, the motivation and the political drive to have a EU space program. And today we have a EU space program. So there is a EU space program, there are national programs, and then there are programs in collaboration, bilateral, through direct agreements between countries, or multilateral, between several countries, or in the frame of the European Space Agency. This is a little bit how it works. There are different focus, and they are quite split and quite separate, what is done in one frame, what is done in the other frame. In the Union, our pillars are clear. We do navigation, Earth observation, now secured communications, space situational awareness, and then a number of accessory areas. This is our focus. This is what we do.
Okay. And as we have 2 minutes left, do you maybe have tight bonds with agencies, other national or international space agency, national ones? I mean, overseas.
I mean, we do, so whenever we are talking about collaborating beyond the European Union, there is the Commission that is in the leadership. Mm-hmm. Our mandate is a EU-related mandate. Certainly, in support of the Commission, we do quite a lot. I mean, there are dialogues, there are international dialogues with other partners, in particular with the United States, with Japan, and we provide, if you want, the technical support. When it comes to the political discussion, the roles are also quite well split. Where the political drive is certainly with the Commission, we are a technical agency.
Thank you very much, Mr. Da Costa.
Thank you very much for having me. If I may have a conclusion.
Oh, sure, please.
Thank you very much for having me. It is really a pleasure to be back here at CYSAT, and it will be a pleasure to accompany throughout the day the different sessions. The matters you are discussing here, they are really, really very important. Just to give you an example, I have recently, 2 years ago, 1.5 years ago, I restructured our agency in a way of making sure that security is everywhere, because security has to be everywhere. I mean, what used to be quality in the 90s and in the 2000s is security today. when I started working back in the 2000s, yes, it's a long time ago. Back in the 2000s, quality was painting some lines on the floor, and there were a few guys in one of the corners that were dealing with quality. Today, quality is in the mentality of everyone. We have to achieve the same with security. Security is not a problem of the security department or of the security unit. Security is a matter of everyone. And also in this end, my last message is we are strengthening the agency, in particular in the domain of security, and certainly there are plenty of opportunities for security professionals that want to work for a EU institution to join us. Thank you.
Well, time to connect then. Thank you very much, Mr. Da Costa. I recall that you're the Executive Director of the European Union Agency for the Space Program. Got it right.